So it is 11:15. I propose to restart the meeting. I hand over to Isaac, who will describe the legal, financial, and evaluation guidelines of the call. I'll give a couple of details on the actual assessment at the end, and then we open for Q&A. Thanks.
Okay. So, good morning to everybody, and mainly for those that just attend the meeting. So, what I will introduce to you is the key element that you have to take into consideration before submitting your tender. So all the information that we will provide to you, they are available on the e-tendering website, on the tender documents. So, and that can be supplemented by the answer that we will provide to you to the question that you must also submit it via the e-tendering portal and via the tab question and answer. First slide, please. So the first point to be taken into consideration is who may submit a tender. So is regulated in the EU financial regulations, and so the tender is this tender procedure is open to all natural and legal persons. Natural is mean that the individuals, and legal person is companies that are established in a EU member state or in Iceland, Norway, and Liechtenstein per the European Economic Area Agreement. So when I refer to established, it's not about nationality. Is related to the place of residence of the place or where the company is established. It could be, for example, that the company could be a Spanish company, but this Spanish company has a branch so it could be, for example, a Canadian company, but this Canadian company has a branch in France, and this French company can also submit a tender. So what is important is the place of establishment of the company. Also important point to mention that the EU procurement procedures are not open to economic operators that are established in another country to the one referred above, for example, UK, US, or Canada, because we don't participate to the World Trade Agreement on the procurement agreement. So we cannot open URL and joint undertaking cannot open the procurement procedure to companies established in companies that are not in the EU or Iceland, Norway, or Liechtenstein. So we will also assess that where the country of establishment and usually present the supporting document. The rule that I indicated about the establishment, the place of establishment, is not applicable to subcontractors. It means that the tenders can propose subcontractor of their choice that can be in third countries. But you have to pay attention that subcontracting may not to be used in order to circumvent the procurement rules. So it means, for example, that if you propose a subcontractor from Canada, it's fine. But what is important that this Canadian company will not perform all the tasks related to one of the lot, because if it is this case, we will assess and then we will come back to you to ask for additional information. So it's important also that every economic operator that's willing to submit a tender that may first be registered in the participant register, with this the online register provided by the European Commission for all organizations and natural persons participating in Commission and other EU agencies and body card for tender and proposal, for example, for grants. And you have for the identification of the tender, you should fill in the tender submission form and provide the legal entity form and the financial identification form as indicated in the tender document. Next slide, please. So how the economic operators can organize in order to submit a tender. So you have plenty of possibilities. You can be either as a sole economic operator, a sole tenderer, or you can decide to make a consortium or a joint tender and include subcontractors or other entities. Each role of each entity involved in the tender must be specified and clearly specified in the e-submission application. In particular, if you are a sole tender or a group of leader or a group of, you have the group leader of a consortium or a group, one of the member of the consortium, or you are the subcontractor. So you make clearly indicate both in the e-submission application and in the forms that annex to the tender specifications. You should indicate clearly which entities form part of the tender. And so what is also important for subcontractors is that is required that you give an indication of the proportion in percentage of the contract that you intend, that this identified subcontractor intend to perform, and describe the roles and tasks that the subcontractor will perform. And all subcontractors that are above of the 10% in the volume of the task to be performed should be clearly indicated in your tender. You can also rely on other entities that they are not member of your consortia. They are no subcontractors. But the 10 other entities that you rely mainly to fill in the selection criteria. But you should also indicate in the tender documents and in your tender in the identification forms. Next slide, please. So now a bit few golden procurement rules. Of course, these during the whole tender procedure, we will ensure that the equal treatment and no discrimination between all the tenders. It means that during the evaluations, we will only evaluate and assess your tender based on the evaluation criteria that announced in the tender specification, and maybe complemented by the replays that we will provide to the question that you submit via e-tenderings. So the evaluation will be assessed only on the tender submitted. We will not take into consideration other external factors, like, for example, that the knowledge and the reputation that we know about the company that submit the tender. Will be only based on the information provided in your tender. So we can also ask you the possibility that the URL will ask you the tender some clarification and additional information. In this case, the request for clarification that will come from the evaluation committee members will be based on the same situation, say treatment. So if we ask one clarification to be provided about one tender, we will ask the same information to all the tenders. We also have some protection of rule on data protection and commercial data. So when we will find, for example, during the evaluation, we will find some commercial or sensitive information, they will not be disclosed in the evaluation report, not in the result and the result letter that will send to you. Personal data will also be treated as per the EU data protection regulations. And regard the confidentiality, the work of the committee and no conflict of interest, internal and external obligations. So internal obligation, all the members of the evaluation committee will be under the confidentiality rules as per the EU staff regulation, and external confidentiality obligation that they will not communicate any information to economic operator that submit a tender before dispatch of the letters that we will informing about the outcome of the procedure. And in general, no communication will be done to economic operators in general before the publication of the award contract notice in the EU official journal. So it means that all contract clarification letters will be centralized by a dedicated procurement mailbox and will be dealt by the URL procurement team. Next slide, please. So transparency obligations, so that the opening record of the tenders can be requested by the tender after the public opening of the tenders. The opening record will be, and the evaluation report can be also given to the general public after the closure of the call for tenders. After the outcome of the procedure, you will receive, every tender will receive a letter informing about the outcome of the procedure, and we will provide it to you the quality score and the comment of the quality evaluation of your tenders. And in addition, we will provide to unsuccessful tenders, that of tenders that are not the winners, the names, the price, and the quality score and comments of the winning tenders will be also to communicate it to you. But we will not communicate the mark and comment of unsuccessful tenders, neither to the winner tender nor to the other unsuccessful tenders. And legality, so we as I told you that so the legal base for the tender is the EU financial regulations, and tenders can always file a complaint for misadministration before the European Ombudsman or for annulment before the Court of Justice. Next slide, please. So as I told you, all the tender documents are available on the e-tendering website. That is available. The link is available on the contract notice that were published, and also is available on the Europe Rail's website dedicated to the to tenders. And under the tab document library, you have all the information. So the contract notice with a link to the contract notice, the tender specification with all the annexes, and the invitation to tenders, mainly for the related to the submissions and how to submit the tenders, the draft contracts, and also there is a tab on the question and answer that you must use it in order to allow us to provide you a written answer to your question. Question that receive via another ways, like by phone calls or even by email address, email will not be treated, and we will refer always to the question and to the e-tendering website in order to include your questions. Next slide, please. So just to remind you that you can participate on the opening of tenders is public. They will be remotely during the due to the COVID, still to the COVID situation, and we will use the Microsoft Teams application in order to connect it. So those the opening session will take place on the 2nd of June at 10 o'clock, and a maximum of 2 represented per tender. And then in order to participate to the opening committee, you should send an email to this procurement functional mailbox 3 days before the schedule, and then provided some information that is you can see. And the opening will be only limited to the verification that each tender has been submitted in accordance with the submission requirement. And we will provide it to you during the meeting, the name of the tenderers that submit the tender, as well of the member of the consortium in case as joint tender. In any case, that if you are not able to attend the opening session, you must send on it also a request to provide you with the opening record after the public opening. Next slide, please. So here some summary evaluation and our step. So we can see we have 2 main blocks: the exclusion and selection evaluation and the quality and financial evaluation. So the exclusion and selection evaluation will also include the identification of who submit the tender, as previously indicated to you. Then we will proceed verification of no exclusion of the tenders. The initial assessment will be only based on a declaration on the owner that you should provide it to us. And both for the exclusion and the selection criteria is used one declaration where you have to fill in and to indicate that on the declaration on your owner that you fill in exclusion and selection criteria, and only open to the winning tenderers. We will ask to provide the supporting document related to both to the exclusion and the selection criteria, those in order to alleviate you the amount of document that you should have to submit. So, but you have to take into consideration that the way that we indicated to you that the one of the tender you have the winner tender after the award and the ranking of the tender is mean that you will not be awarded the contract, because before you should provide the document related to the selection criteria, supporting document, and exclusion criteria. This is something important that you have to have in mind. So for qualitative and financial evaluation, we will first verify that the compliance with the minimum requirement and that are indicated in the tender specification, and then we will assess the quality of the technical tender submitted. Then for only those that pass the quality criteria thresholds, we will open your financial tender, and we will assess the prices and we will proceed with the financial evaluation of the tenders and the prices, and then we will proceed with the award and ranking of the tender using the award formula indicated in the tender documents. So I remind you again, then they will also ask the winning tender, so the one ranked first, that to provide the supporting document for the selection criteria. And if for whatever reason those after the assessment of the selection of the supporting document that you provided for the selection, we consider that you don't fulfill the selection criteria, in this case we may award the contract to the tender ranked second and consecutively. Again, important information that the evaluation will be assessed only in the information provided in your tenders. Next slide, please. So more detail in the scheme of the evaluation process. So we will start for the identification, access to the market, and verification, exclusion, selection criteria based only on the declarations. And second step, we will verify the supporting documents, selection criteria. Important to mention that selection step, we assess only the experience and the capacity of the tender only. During the selection, for the selection, we don't assess the quality of the technical offer. The quality of the technical offer submitted is only assessed on the light of the quality criteria. So it means that for the selection criteria, no comment or score are given. It's based on yes or no. Either you meet the selection criteria or not. So this is very important to take into consideration. Whereas in the quality award evaluations, we assess the quality of your proposed technical tender, and then the evaluation committee member will provide a score and comment to your technical tender. Next slide, please. So after the award criteria, we will proceed with the for the award criteria is based quality. We have two quality criterion. They are the quality of your tenders, and then the financial evaluation. So, and all those steps will be included in the evaluation report. And then when we have analyzed the assessment of quality of the tenders, for those tenders that have passed the quality threshold, then Ian will indicate you later on the more in detail the quality award criteria for each lot. Then we will proceed for the ranking of the tender based on the formula that is indicated in the tender specification and what you can see in the presentation. So important to mention that the award formula is the same for all the lot. Is 70% is quality and 30% is price. So we, for this call for tender, we focus on the quality of the tenders and less on the price. So this is very important to take you into consideration when preparing your tender, because what is important is the technical tender that will submit it to us. Because by experience, we know that we are in the consultancy services that the price proposed will be more or less the same by all the tenders. So we will focus on the quality of your tender, and the quality will make the one that will be the winner or not. So we focus on the quality of the tenders, and as Ian will explain to you, there are some quality threshold per criterion and the total quality threshold for all the criteria that you need reach 70% of the points. So, and then there will be applied also the percentage that will apply to our formula. So the weighting is focused on quality. So you must take into consideration this, and you should present a very good quality technical tender. Next slide, please. So then a few words about what, the one that will be the tender that will propose for the award will the winning for the award will be the winning tender, and we will following the verification of the supporting document with the selection criteria that are fine. So we will sign the evaluation report that we will propose to the executive director, the authorizing officer, that will sign our decision and the contract. So outcome of the call for tenders, we will provide it to you as already referred, the notification letters for the successful tenders, with the quality score of this tender, the detailed quality coming of his tender, and also for the unsuccessful tenders, quality score of his tender and detailed quality coming of his tender, and also the name, price, quality score, and coming of successful tenders. So we will provide only to the unsuccessful tender the overall price of the tender, of the successful tender, but not the split of the price proposed by the tender, because this is considered as commercial information, and this will not be disclosed. So, and then after the signing of the Fremont contract, will be published an our contract notice in the EU official journal. So all the economic operator will be informed. Next slide, please. So finally, how to submit a tender. So it's important so that tenders can only be submitted via the electronic submission system e-submission, which is available on the e-tendering website and accessible also from the funding and tender opportunity portal. So please read the instructions that are laid down in the invitation to tender, that you can, the invitation to tender is one of the procurement document available on the tendering website, and the e-submission quick guide that is also available in the invitation to tender before submit the tender. Because as you will see, before submit the tender, in its submission, you may have been registered in the European Commission User Authentication Service. If you log in, you should have already created a new tendering account using your EU login and be registered in the participant register and get your PIC identification code. This is very important because without those steps, you will not be able to submit a tender via e-submission. And e-submission is mandatory as per the Public Procurement Directive that contracting authorities, national and or European contracting authorities should provide the possibility to the economic operator to submit tenders electronically. So this is a mandatory as per the procurement directives. So important also that for each lot, you should submit a separate administrative, technical, and financial offer and upload it in e-submission. So for each lot, you should repeat the information because we will sign 3 different framework contracts. So it's important that you submit 3, if you apply for the 3 lot, you should submit 3 of a tender for each lot. And all the documents as to be submitted in the tender are listed in the tender specification and in Annex 1. So next slide, please. So as you can see, so I will just make a print screen of what you find in the tender specification. So there is a list, we provide you a list of all the documents that you should be submitted under with e-submission or during the procedure upon request by URL. So there is a part of administrative document. There is a technical document, your technical offer. What I told you, this is the most important document because it will be on the basis of the technical offer that we will assess the quality of your tender, and the financial document, the financial offer, that is also a mandatory, using a mandatory template provided in the tender document annex to the tender specification. If you don't respect this template, we will reject your offer, and because we will be non-compliant with the tender documents. And next slide, please. And then also you have in annexes to the tender specifications, you have a list of documents that to be submitted with the tender or during the procedure with clear indication of each document and which document should be provided. For example, if you are you make a consortium, which document should be provided by each of the members of the group of the consortium. If you have identified subcontractor, if they are to provide which documents to be provided identified subcontractor, or you have any other entities that you rely on the capacity in order to fill in the selection criteria. Next slide, please. Sorry, no, this is a repetition, sorry. Next. Yeah, so please, so important, again, tender submission deadline, do not miss it. The tender submission deadline is indicated both in the contract notice and in the e-tendering website. So is the 30th of May at 3 o'clock. So if so, tenders that will submit the tender up after this deadline, tendering a submission will not allow you to submit the tenders. Now is a novelty on the submission. Before it was possible still to submit a tender after the submission deadline, but then the opening committee of course will reject the opening because not compliant with the time submission deadline. But now e-submission will not allow you to submit the tender after the deadline. So please start uploading your tender document from now on. Don't wait until the last minute time to submit your tender, because the URL will not be responsible in case that you have, for example, a bad internet connection and you are not able to submit your tender on time. It's up to you, to the tenders, in case that there is a technical problem, to prove that the problem was not related to you, but there was a problem related to the applications. In this case, there is you have in the e-submission guidelines, you have a help desk, e-submission help desk. In case that you have technical problem or questions, you can contact them. There is a functional mailbox and a phone number. So, but please don't wait until the last minute time. You can already upload your tender as a draft. You can already start uploading your document, and you can play a bit. And in case that you have questions, contact the submission help desks that are available from 10 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, and the local time is Brussels local time is 3 o'clock. Brussels local times. So don't miss this the deadline. And I think that I give the floor to Ian, that will introduce to you the more in detail the quality evaluation criteria.
Thanks, Isaac, for the comprehensive presentation. I will just briefly touch on the elements within the tender specification linked to the quality criteria for each lot. As Isaac said, this is after the checking of the minimum requirements, where the assessment is coupled with price, but here is where the emphasis is. There are slight differences between each of the lots, and just to explain this a little bit. So there are 3 quality criteria. First of all, the quality and appropriateness. This is for lot 1 here, but the three criteria are the same for each of the lots. The quality and appropriateness of the approach, the organization of the work, and then quality control, and a different allocation of points for each with a minimum threshold. So those are the assessment criteria. So the submission will be reviewed against these criteria and against the tender specifications to determine the overall mark of the propositions put forward. For lot 1, so the first criteria in terms of quality is about the delivery of the task. So the approach put forward, so the way that the team will be selected, a demonstration of the quality and experience of the people, and also how issues will be addressed in terms of delivery of the tasks themselves. This is the task of the system pillar and specifically of the core team, and also how the team can adapt to the reality of delivery, i.e. if there are changing priorities, if there are new priorities determined by the system pillar steering group and the governing board. That's the first criteria. The second one is on organization of the work resources themselves. So this is about the provision of the resource of the core group, so the people, and also continuity management, and how the core team would be proposed to be organized in a sense from a from the consortium or the winning bidder perspective. And quality control is essentially the standard processes on quality control to achieve the overall expected outcomes of the contracts. For lot 2, the next slide. So this is for the system pillar tasks. So first of all, here there's just a slight rearrangement in terms of the points. So the organization of the work and resources is 40 points, and the quality of the approach is 50. So a slightly higher weighting on the organization of the work resources. This is reflecting the fact that compared to the core team, there are many more people involved here. So the organization is somewhat more complicated, just as a function of the number of people, the potential number of tasks to manage. But again, the split is broadly the same. So what is the bidder approach to ensuring, first of all, the quality of the output based on the known outputs and the known goals of the system pillar, and then how will the team be resourced in a potentially flexible way? If we go to lot 3, here again it's a 50-40 split. Here the criteria again follow the 3 criteria approach, but there are some specificities in the call text, in particular in the quality section, linked to the known knowledge of current CCS processes and CCS systems, given that this is focused on CCS TSI maintenance activities. So these are the quality criteria for each lot. There is also, as Isaac described, the technical and professional capacities. These are yes, no answers, but what we are seeking within the response from the framework contract for lot 1 and lot 2 and lot 3 is a representative sample of the expertise to be put forward to demonstrate that the relevant bidder has the sufficient depth and breadth of expertise to fulfill the overall requirements. I think that is the end of the presentation. So now we have time for Q&A. I see we have a couple here already from the previous session, so I would propose to address these, and then any others that are requested, and then we would close the session. So the first question to address is from Ingo Bienbacher. I hope that I pronounced that correctly. So it's, did I understand correctly that for lot 2, the bidder is expected to offer a pool of resource to provide yearly services of roughly 30 to 50 FTE workforce based on an unlimited number of experts? So I think there's a couple of parts to this question. The first is that what we are seeking in response to the framework contract is the requirements of the framework contract, which is we are seeking an approach from the bidder which sets out how the bidder overall can provide a flexible and deep pool of resource to deliver the required tasks, as will be then set out in the specific call-off contracts. The specific requirements in terms of the number and the specific resource will be set out in the call-off contracts. So the framework is requesting the proposal in terms of overall approach and a representative, quite large representative sample of experts that would be able to be drawn upon. This would then be followed by a specific request in the call-off contract. And as pointed out earlier, there is within Annex 9 and Annex 10 an indicative indication of what the first call-off contract would be, both in terms of number of resource and skills sought. Now, there may be some slight modification of this as we work through still the ramp up, but it is clear, I think, now, based on what's in the master plan, what's based in the multi-annual work plan, where the priorities are. So there is resource for the Task 1 whole railway system, but there is also a focus on CCS-linked activities, TMS, and DAC. So those are known already. There are also some core horizontal activities which are set out in the tasks. Some of that is provided through the framework contract, some not. That's set out in the annex. So what we're aiming to do is give a flavour of the resource required, with the caveat that this may change a little bit, and there can be further requests, as for example, further tasks are requested to be considered and then approved through the governance process. So there is, I think, the way to think about it in terms of the evaluation is what the framework contract is asking for, which is a demonstration that the bidder can provide the number and level of resource needed on a reasonably flexible basis, with the level of expertise as indicated in the annexes, and then the specific requirements will come on the basis of the call-offs, and the first call-off we would expect to launch as quickly as possible after the framework contract is signed, which links to Nicola's question, but I'll just address the second question from Ingo, which is, do you expect to also receive profiles of the experts of such a pool of resource? This goes back to my separation between the bid for the framework contract and then the specific call of contracts. So for the framework contract, which is what we're talking about in this call for tender here, there is a requirement in terms of the technical and professional capacity to provide some CVs for specific people and demonstrating a specific level of expertise and resource. I think from memory it's 10 per senior expert, 10 per junior expert for lot 2. Then for the call-off contract, we would be seeking specific identified resource at that point. So those people would be the people being put forward. So it's in the call-off contract that the specific requirement is set out and will be provided. I go to Nicola's question here. So when do you expect the first service contract to be signed and the work to start? So as I mentioned earlier, we have the framework contract, which we aim to sign by the 15th of July. In order to avoid a big gap between the end of the ramp-up processes, which is running to the end of July, and the start of the system pillar proper, we would be seeking to sign the first call-off as soon as possible. And it is partially for that reason that we have, well, first of all, in January, we announced the overall, the call was happening, and then within this call for tender, we provide within Annex 9, Annex 10 an indicative guide to the level of resource sought within the first call-off. Now, appreciate that it's over the summer for one, and also that there's potentially quite a large number of experts being sought. So I think we will need to see where we get to, but I think there is a clear mutual interest from a sector perspective and the overall system pillar perspective that we seek to set up and get the work started from the specific call of contracts as soon as possible after the framework contract is signed. The second question from Nicola is regarding the involvement of ERA. Apart from the core group, do you expect ERA to be involved in the domain teams? So I think, honestly, there is not a completely simple answer to this, because it depends on the specific work being done within the domain teams. So first of all, just to note, what is the system pillar giving and providing that we don't have at the moment? Well, what it's giving and providing is a reasonably large sum of money, certainty over a number of years, and a dedicated governance process to manage, in the end, the sector input for the evolution of the system in terms of specifications, standards, etc. So, and this is largely funneled through the work of the domain teams, and that is, essentially the winning bidder, representative of the sector, doing work to deliver these elements. So the architectural work, the operational concept, and the associated either delivery of specifications or coordination of specification and detail work from elsewhere. So the interaction with the agency of the domain teams will vary depending on the topic. So for some, there may be close involvement, maybe there'll be domain input to topical working groups, for example. For others, there may not be, so I don't think it's a simple black and white answer. But what I would like to emphasize in terms of the agency involvement is, well, first of all, from the beginning of the development of the system pillar, the agency has been fully involved, and it will be fully involved, as you point out, in the core team, but also in the system pillar steering group, and there will be a developed relationship with respect to the TSI process change. So there will be a further development in the coming weeks and months of the specific relationship of the outputs of the system pillar to the change control management process of the agency, but this is hand in hand with the agency. So we would expect that we can provide more detail on the specifics in the coming weeks, but to reassure that the agency is fully involved at all levels in the system pillar work. I do not see any more questions. So please, if you have questions, now is the opportunity. Otherwise, we will wrap up the session. So I see no questions. So Carlo, do you want to give a brief closing statement?
Well, thank you very much, Ian. I think thank you very much for having organized to all the Europe's Rail team this Info Day. I hope has been useful to all of you. As you know, the objective of this call, to remind to everyone, this call for tender, is to ensure that we have the necessary skill and competencies provided by the sector to empower the sector to run this transformation of the rail system that has been requested at large, and to achieve the sustainable and smart mobility strategy of the Commission. So it's really a key tool to make happening what we have discussed at length in the past years, a couple of years in particular, on how we can evolve as a sector the rail system and ensure that the innovation and the evolution of innovation is done in a consistent and coherent manner. It's not simple. I'm not sure that I'm not telling you that it's simple and is easy. I'm telling you that we have the resources available to do this, and we would like that the sector engage its best expert to deliver it. We have a big expectation from the system pillar. There is a lot of attention, not only from rail, but also at policy level, at political level, on the system pillar outcome. Is a key component of the overall work in relation to the innovation pillar. And if we have the correct women and men to do the work, I think we have really a serious opportunity to accelerate the transformation. So we are looking forward to receive your proposals. We are looking forward to receive proposals that are consistent and coherent, what Isaac indicated, with the criteria that are identified to evaluate the proposal. And I would wish all of you a good work in preparation of the deadline. Deadline, again, Isaac, 30th of May, 3 o'clock. No 1 second more.
No,
the system
no
is closed after this.
No, because the system will, the e-submission system will block you.
Exactly. Okay. So thank you very much again for your participation. If you have any question, Isaac, can you give the correct mail address?
Yes, no, in fact, there is no email address, so all the questions should be submitted via the e-tendering website, e-tendering website. So in the question and answer tab, a simple way, so you should have just to a button clicking create a questions. But before this, be aware that should be registered on the TED e-tendering website is required because also is required in order to submit your tender via e-submission. So please read all the information available in the invitation to tender. All the information is there, and don't wait. Don't wait until the last minute to submit your tender, because there is quite a important number of documents to be provided. So you can start uploading the document that you consider that they are final into the system. And in any case, if you have additional questions, or you can submit the question via the e-tendering website, and then we will answer the question as soon as possible.
Yeah. So first, register. Second, start to upload the document and ask your question via the question and answer in the portal. And third, submit your proposal on time. Okay. Based on this, thank you very much to everyone, and we adjourn the meeting here, and looking forward to the proposal.
Yeah, maybe Carlo, to add that we will also the presentation has been recorded and will be available on our website, and then the presentation will be also made available.
Yeah, I see Johannes, you raise your hand, so please. We don't hear you in case
I'm not sure it's enabled.
The communication team should enable it. Yeah.
Now it's enabled. I just want to thank you, all of you, for this very good information, and I think now it's more clear without reading all the 100 pages, so that everybody knows what to do and yeah, how to prepare the tender, the proposal. Sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all of you for your work and commitment. Thank you again.
Thanks a lot.
We stop here the recording, and we close the event now.